Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Well, friends, when you back up 15, 20 years ago, crime was very much at the local level. It really happened within 1 to 2 kilometers of your home. Well, unfortunately, crime now can happen 20,000 kilometers and if not more away from your house. That's right, it's called cybercrime. And that's why cybersecurity is a completely new industry in rapid growth mode. We've all heard about it, but it's very confusing and there's so many different elements to it. And that's why it's so important to follow companies and people that are on the cutting edge, leading the charge. And that's why I'm so excited today to be joined by Terry Roberts of Whitehawk, because Whitehawk is certainly a company in the cyber theft space that really has a unique product suite. And also, as we're going to allude to, some very exciting upcoming news and validation of their products. And with that, Terry, welcome.
Oh, it's so great to be here with you. It was wonderful to see you in May,
Yes.
in person also. So bring it on. Let's
Yeah.
have a discussion.
Great. Hey, Terry, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. But firstly, I want to let everyone know you're based in Washington, D.C. And I'm really curious from your unique perch, cybersecurity, as I mentioned, it's really a global issue right now. But what do you see from your point of view? Because you're also obviously very close to the heart of the United States government.
Yeah, so if you think about it, and especially in the early 1990s, in many ways, cyber was created in the DC and Russian space, right?
Yes.
Because everything as we were putting out networks was as governments, right, and militaries, then everything was about the getting into everybody else's stuff. So
Right.
because of that, the talent, the creation, the innovation, the operations, we've been a hub since then.
Yeah. No, definitely. And as you said, I think that that key point you mentioned, that word talent, uh, critically important for any business, even though it's a global business, to also be able to find that talent, isn't it?
It really is, and frankly, there are not a lot of us who have been in this realm since the 90s or the 2000s. And so you need that complement of next generation amazing talent with those of us who have done that, been there, seen the evolution. So we don't repeat the same mistakes, but we're leveraging young talent and innovation.
Right. And now, turning more to Whitehawk specifically, cyber itself is a huge market. What segment do you really tend to focus on?
So we're really focused on the regulated sectors because let's face it, unless you have an impetus, right, to address your digital age risks by having an audit or having a governmental entity reviewing you, then you just don't have the same sense of urgency.
Right.
So that can be government, that can be financial sector, energy sector, insurance. So to give you a few, but we target those primarily. And then some of the MSPs, the managed service providers,
Right.
because of their engagement with so many thousands of businesses.
Right. So you're really focusing on those, I would call it business customers that have, and we all, let's face it, have incredible need for cybersecurity. But these are institutions and entities that it is a must that they must have security. Is that
The
correct?
priority.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. And then the Whitehawk product suite, and again, for maybe a non-computer science
Sure.
audience,
Sure.
what is the Whitehawk suite?
Okay. Yeah, and I'd like to explain really why it's different.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
traditional cybersecurity is more of a do everything all the time, very technical, controls oriented, compliance oriented, meaning checklists. Okay.
Right.
But that's only good for a moment in time. So what we've done is taken a national security approach, which is flipped it and made it risk-based. And then because of current technologies that we're leveraging, you hear it in the news,
Right.
publicly available data sets, and AI-based risk and threat analytics. So that combination of the two brought into a cloud-based platform and with our critical partners, right? Because we partner a lot with the best of breed in
Yes.
this space, allows us to create a cyber risk assessment on any legal entity in the world within 24 to 48 hours. We build on that, which is our cyber risk program, which then makes it continuous.
Right.
And then we build upon that, and we can do it across supply chains, and that's called our cyber risk radar.
Wow. And I guess that the proof is in the pudding, as I mentioned in the introduction, you have some very exciting news that really validates even further the Whitehawk product. Can you just tell us a little bit about a contract win that I believe is coming out today?
According to my clock, it's already out, Australia time. We just got finalized our contract renewal. It's going into the 4th year. So they picked up the 4th year option. It has grown a bit. There's also some flex for some more growth. And, it's a major federal CISO. We're not allowed to announce who they are for sensitivity reasons. But I really
But that's
think
the U.S. federal government,
yes,
or
yes,
a related entity, I should say. Okay.
yes, yes. And I really do think it validates our approach and the fact that it can have an impact to them day in, day out. So, you never know.
Right.
We actually had some leadership changes, and so you always want to make sure that you don't take it for granted in any way. But we're very excited and very proud of this.
That's great. That's great. And speaking of taking for granted, I have to ask, and this is more of a personal, the attacks, they seem to be changing all the time. And as you said, like, you really have to stay on the front foot with these things. How does Whitehawk look at the landscape of maybe not 2023, but 2025? How do you keep innovating?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm blessed with the best chief product officer and COO, Sue Kim, who has been architecting next generation solutions for the U.S. intelligence community for 25 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
I have top talent. She has brought in an incredible in-house development and data science team, and most of them have been with us 3 or 4 years because they love what we're doing and they love the mission. So in interacting with our clients, we get feedback, right?
Right.
And then we bake those additional features. We actually, our 4C is coming out on Monday, and we're showcasing some of the new improvements that we've made to the platform. And by the way, all automated, right? That's our middle name. If it isn't automated and scalable, then we're not focused on it.
Right. And so getting a little bit more technical, that means that somebody doesn't have, when you sell, when someone takes on the Whitehawk product, they themselves don't have to be a data scientist coding and so forth and so on.
No, as a matter of fact, our cyber risk assessments are totally designed to be understandable by any professional, like anyone. Office manager, IT director, CFO, small business owner. We've taken all the complexity and grilled it down into something that is very understandable and actionable. And then, of course, it comes with a virtual consult so we can walk them through it.
Right. Sounds great. Now, Terry, as investors, we obviously want to create shareholder value, and that's through the P&L statement, if you will. Can you just tell us about your revenue model? How does it work?
So it goes back to that scalability. So originally people said, oh, start a consulting firm. You know this stuff so much. And I was like, no, I want to take my consulting thinking, bake it into a cloud-based platform and automate that
I see.
so that it is totally scalable. So those are software as a service subscriptions. That was
Perfect.
the other thing. I wanted it to be focused on annual subscriptions that are renewable on an annual basis, right? So that you get that, revenue upfront.
Right.
And then you can also grow it, but it's still a subscription
Right.
basis.
Right. So classic SaaS type of business model.
Absolutely. And then with our partners, we have the Apple App Store business model, which means that we either integrate them and take them to clients with us, right? And then they didn't have anything to do with the sale. So then it's a standard percentage for everybody for
Right.
hardware, software. Okay.
Sure. Right. That makes sense. A classic lead type of generation model. Hey, Terry, even though cyber is a global business, can you just tell us a little bit? You were finally able, and we've met in person, to come down here to Australia post-COVID after a couple of years. And it really sounded like it was an incredibly exciting trip, especially from the business point of view. Can you just talk to us
Yes.
a little bit about that, especially the Western Australia?
Yes. So, and I actually name a couple of them in the 4C. But we were able to meet with major insurance firms. We were
Right.
able to meet with a global events company. We were able to meet with local government, Australian local government, and also local Australian cyber companies and capabilities that we want to integrate with. And honestly, I'm tracking about 10 solid leads now where we're continuing the conversation, where we're doing the demonstrations, and where we're getting down to proofs of value. We do very well when we do a proof of value of turning that into a contract. So I basically circled back with all of these leads recently to do proofs of value. And I've got about a third that are already starting to give me the first steps.
That's great. And I can't help but think to myself that, COVID, with it finally coming out of lockdown.
I feel like we lost 2 years of exponential growth that we
Right.
could have had. We still grew, thank goodness.
Yes.
But we really lost that momentum that we had right before COVID, and now we're getting it back. So
Gotcha.
this is very exciting time for us because we're ready.
Right. And the business is certainly growing. You're mentioning all these things in the pipeline and so forth and so on. Obviously, to grow, you also need capital. You're in the middle of, I believe, a rights offering right now. Can you just
Yes.
discuss that at
Yes.
all?
Well, it was really based on the conversations that we had while we were in Australia, and it became apparent that a lot of our very loyal investors, both, individual and institutional and retail, I kept asking, wanted an opportunity to help us, especially because of some of the larger opportunities that
Yeah.
we've been talking about with our partner Peraton, who is a fabulous top federal systems integrator
Okay.
and has been a dream to partner with. So we have a proposal that's already been submitted, and then we have one that we're working right now. But those take a little bit of time. But the good news with those is they will be this year. We'll know this year. Okay.
In calendar 23.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That the decisions
Yes.
on them are going to be made in 2023, but it's been, trust me, like a year and a half worth of work, right?
I'm sure.
Going into these contracts because obviously they're longer, multi-year, kind of game-changing opportunities. And then growing one of our current contracts. So, think good thoughts on that one because it's a dramatic growth. And again, it's good when it's already a client because then, the contract vehicles are in place, the past
Yes.
performance is in place. And so it's not the same thing. A lot of times people go, so when do you think, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you're
Sure.
like, it's in the client's hand when it's a new contract, right? It's a cold start.
No.
It's much harder to predict the actual timing of it.
Right. But I suppose on the other hand, what's great with these the long lead time contracts is that once you do get in, they do tend to be very, very sticky.
Yeah, and again, and like we went after one also with Dun and Bradstreet, when you have, heavy hitting partners,
Yes.
and you're the solution bench and they're wrapping everything around you, it's a big difference than a small business trying to do it all on your own.
Yeah, again, and if there's like one key message, I think is the validation of Whitehawk when you have federal government companies like Dun and Bradstreet. I mean, these are major, major institutions, and cyber for them is it's not something that's a nice to have; it's a must have.
A must. Oh, and we have something else. We're Amazon Web Services. It's called an APN, part of their partner network, have been
Okay,
for a while. But we really didn't do a global campaign on the fact that you can buy us through their marketplace because it was COVID. And it
right.
just, do you know what I mean?
Didn't make sense.
We
Yeah,
didn't want to waste the bullets, so to speak. But now is a perfect time to do it. So we've been working with them. And what's fun is they work hand in hand with you on the campaigns, both social media and email. So we're very excited to be able to kick those off with the powerhouse like AWS.
that's great. Hey, Terry, we have to keep the interviews fairly short, but it is an incredibly exciting time. As you said, like, you've got a major new renewal contract, you've got a huge pipeline, you've got the balance sheet improving. Any closing remarks further that you want to add?
Yeah, I think the next 12 months are the pivot point for us based on everything that we put in place during COVID, both the vast improvement of the product lines, the integration of our partners' data sets into our platforms, the partnerships that we put in place, and the contracts that we're actively engaged in. And there's more. Okay.
Yes.
And so the next year is finally our year.
Right. Thanks, Terry, and we definitely look forward to staying in touch, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
It was outstanding. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.